Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to my channel. I thought you might like to join me while I'm painting some of my Christmas cards this year. So today I'm going to be starting with poinsettias. Very easy cards to do, great for beginners. So right here I'm drawing out a pencil, five little dots that are kind of evenly spaced, and then a center dot. And then I make a line from that center dot out to each of the 5 points. And they will represent a light red petal. So this is Winsor red from Winsor Newton. You can use any bright red that you like. Some of my reds are a little too cherry, a little too pinky, so I like this one. So I'm going in with a pretty watery consistency here, and I'm just making a pointed oval shape. Now, I chose this shape for mine. You can go rounder with yours, but poinsettias do tend to be pointy on the end. So I just chose this shape and size for my card. I took a 9x6 piece of watercolor paper, and I divided it in half. So that's the size I'm working with. You can judge from there. It's like a 4x6. So along these 5 evenly spaced points, I'm doing 5 petals. And I just drew them sporadically, and I tried to not be too even with how I spaced them out. I just wanted to make sure that the whole page was used. And I'm going off the tape here. This is what I wanted to mention is don't be afraid for your petals to look like they're going off the page, because I think that's quite appealing to look at. And in this one, I chose to do it when it was wet, and that is to add in just another drop of the red in the centers. But what ended up happening to this one is it dried a little funny. So I decided on this first one that I'm working on right now to do it when it was dry, and it did look much better, I thought. Maybe I put too much water in the first time. I don't know. So now, once you have all your pale petals done, when they're dry, you go right directly between them and you make darker petals, because poinsettias, they do grow like a set of leaves on top of another set. That's what it looks like anyway. So the newer leaves are usually fresher and darker, deeper red, if you have a red one. And I'm also darkening the centers of these just so it looks a little bit recessed, so that it looks like it's growing out from the center. And I want to make sure that this color is quite a bit deeper than the underlayer. And as you can see on that third one to the right, I have a petal that's overlapping another petal, and I quite like that. Just make sure that they're slightly different in value, and you'll see it. It looks quite clear. They won't get mixed up. Poinsettias are so pretty, and it's such a shame we only see them in December. At least here, that we only see them in December, and they're just so pretty. And I thought it would make a nice card. And it's really difficult to put out a YouTube video that you haven't seen before. I noticed that a lot of this stuff has been done over and over again, and I don't want to bore you, but I just thought maybe you'd like to join me while I'm doing my Christmas cards this year. That's why this is a rather short video. So now I've added some purple into the centers. I just want to deepen them, darken them, so that they look even more recessed. So I added some red to the purple, and on the dark leaves, I'm putting in some veins with red and purple. And this is important because on the light leaves, you're only going to use red. So I've used a very, very, very thin brush, and I'm just touching it as lightly as I can, just grazing over the paint, over the petals to make these veins. You can do them as you like, but I like that they're not so bold. And remember, on the light petals, just do the red that you used for the darker petals. That way it won't be such a contrast, a deep contrast. Because it can look a little stark if you do it, if it's too dark. So I'm just deepening the centers now with some purple again. And my paint is never too thick in this project. The lighter petals, it's waterier, but it's never more than milk consistency throughout this whole painting. Just finishing off the veining. And what I'm going to do with these, here I'm adding some black, and I'm going to do the centers in black. I chose black because of the next step that I'm going to do. So you'll soon see. Now just scatter these around the center. You don't have to do it evenly. You can do it evenly if you like. You can do one solid black circle if you prefer, but I just did like polka dots. And if you notice in the card, the corners, I have like partial flowers growing, so they look like they're off the page, and I quite like that. It's just to make sure that the whole page is used without it looking too busy. So I'm using some sap green here to add some leaves, and on poinsettias, the leaves are the same shape as the petals. So I'm using the same method, except I'm not adding as many as I did petals. I thought it would be too busy. And I'm also creating the look of a shadow because they're beneath petals. So those petals would cast a shadow on the leaves. So that's why I'm going in a little darker in the folds, right there in the corners. And try to vary the size of your leaves so that it doesn't look too uniform. It's always nice if your eye can look at a variety of shapes and sizes. It's almost December, and it's shocking how fast life goes. So that's why I'm getting these cards done all at once. So I'm going to film it all, and I hope you join me and enjoy them and get some ideas. Feel free to use any of my ideas. I'm more than happy to share them. And now I'm adding veins to the leaves. So I've added a little bit of Hooker's green into my sap green just to darken it a slight bit, and I'm tickling those veins on as well. I don't want to go in heavy-handed. I don't want to push on my brush. I just want the very tip of it to make these veins. And this is the exciting part, the Liquitex acrylic ink. This is the gold that I chose to use. It's so far for me, it's the one that shows up the best. I'm not fond of the shade of gold. I find it a little too yellow, but it's the only one it comes in. They don't have a different shade. So I'm popping in tiny drops of the gold paint on top of my dried black polka dots in the center of each flower. And they must be dry, because if not, it's going to bleed and it's going to make a mess. And it makes the black underneath, if you let some of that black dot show underneath, it really looks 3D, really looks three-dimensional. So try not to cover each black dot completely with the gold. And then I decide that I'm going to do all the dark petals. But as you can see here, I accidentally did a pale petal. So then I thought, well, I guess I'm going to have to outline all the petals. So that's what I ended up doing. I outlined them in gold, and I'm kind of glad I did, because I really did like how these cards turned out. They turned out very pretty. And I'll show you at the end. I kind of wave the card under the light in different directions so you can see the reflection of the gold. And, you know, take your time and enjoy doing this. This is very fun and relaxing, and there's no rules to follow. Absolutely no. None. Yeah. See, I'm going around that. It's really noticeable on those deep red petals. I love the gold against the red. Beautiful. And now I happen to do, I like these so much. You see that gold shimmering? Beautiful. So I like doing these so much that I ended up doing them also in a pale green. You know how poinsettias can be kind of that yellowy green? So I used jaune brillant, and I used a bit of sap in there, and I did the exact same steps. And now I'm using green and gold polka dots on my red card, and on my green card I'm using red polka dots, as you'll see. I also add some glitter to these polka dots just to liven them up a little bit. And now the unveiling, my favorite part. So what I will do after I've made sure these are completely dry, I'll cut this piece of paper in half, and I'll glue these to folded cardstock, and voila, I have 2 Christmas cards ready to go. So I really hope you try this. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. It really means a lot to me. I hope you have a wonderful time doing this. Happy watercoloring. Bye bye.